Okay, recap. Question 1. Determine mean, median, mode, range, da-da-da-da. What are we going to start with?
Is it actually my test score or
Yes, this is your last test scores. No. Your initials are there. Anybody else have initials in here?
Probably not. Mine are few. If you count my middle name, I'm 77.
That's been my test score before this, so.
Sweet. You're gonna get that means you're gonna get 98% on this test. Okay, what am I starting with? What button? Anybody?
Stat.
Stat edit. Put it all in there. Up, clear down, and then type away.
No, I'll just fill out every single piece of paper I have in here.
So all my stuff is in there. I'm gonna go quit. And I wanna get all this, so I'm going to do what buttons?
Edit, sort, A.
Actually I don't know if yeah, we can do that. Okay, edit. Let's sort. And what am I going to be sorting in ascending order? L1, and then enter, and it did it for me. Okay, stat edit, let's take a look. Let's scroll through. Do we see anything appearing more?
80.
80 does twice. Is there anything else? No. Okay, 80 appears twice, so that's the mode. Okay, some of you might have just tried to scan the paper for the mode. That's fine too. Okay, now what else? I want to get all the mean. Like, how do you get a mean out of this? Stat, calc, one bar stats. You could push L1. If you don't, it will do it automatically. So the mean is 77.64. I'm going to go down a bit here. I have MED, that's the median. 80 is in the middle. We did the mode, and then we need the range. How do you get the range number? Max minus the min. So I had a 99 minus 49. Ooh, these tests are 50 apart from each other.
Especially at night.
Okay, number 2, fill in the correct word. So when we take when we're trying to get data from a population of people, so when I wanted to know, for instance, the phone average, daily average of our school, the larger sample that I take, so if I ask 200 students versus asking 20 students, which gives me a more accurate shot of my data? Asking more people or less people?
More people.
The more people you ask, the more accurate it's going to show. So if you have a larger sample size, it will result in a smaller, low margin of error. And the smaller your sample size means you could have a larger margin of error. So the more you ask, the better your stats will reflect what you want. A survey of 2,500 Manitobans is given to see how many people have home phone lines. The survey results were given as follows. 45% of people surveyed had home phone lines. These results were accurate within 3%, 95 times out of 100. What's the confidence level? How confident in this study are you?
Pretty confident.
How confident? Exactly how confident? 95% confident, or 95 out of 100 That's how confident you are in your study. What is the confidence interval? So first of all, let's understand the margin of error is, the margin of error is up or down 3%. So what is the confidence interval? So 45 is a little bit of error. So what do we go down to and what do we go up to? 42% to 48%. So that's how many people could have phone lines, because we are a little bit unconfident in our answer. So if there's 1.9 million Manitobans, how many people will we expect to have phone lines? So we're going to take this number, times it by 42%, but how do you do that in a calculator? 0.42. And then we're also going to do the same thing times 0.48. Do you guys remember to use that second enter button? And then you can just go back and change, right? So you don't have to retype it.
How do you do that again?
Second enter.
I use two different calculators.
You push the yellow enter button and then it comes back on your screen and then you can just scroll back, and then I just went back and changed the 2 to an 8.
Oh, okay.
Then I don't have to retype it all. So I'm expecting between this and this many Manitobans to have a phone line. That's what that is answering. Okay, question 4. Which group would be more consistent? A or B is more consistent if they're writing a test? Who's more consistent? My first class A or my second class B? A. Why? Lower. So think about your average, right? If we go out 2, 2, 2, right? If we have our mean and then we go out 6.7, right? So who is more consistent? The lower, right? The ones that are lower means they are scoring closer to the average. The higher your standard is, that means you are jumping farther away from your average. So you're really low and really high. Okay, so here again, analyze your findings. Well, similar means, similar medians, but what? What about range? What does range tell us? Basically the same thing as standard. It just tells us how spread out stuff is. So this one is more consistent, and then this one would be more spread. Okay, so range and standard, that's kind of the same idea. They both tell us how far out our data goes, right? Okay, cheat sheet in front of you. Do you have these kinds of numbers in here, like this, 34? Do you have that on your cheat sheet? Okay, so you guys are looking at that. I don't have that. So what is in the next one? Is it a 13.5? What's in the third section on yours? 2.35?
I'm redrawing you.
What's past 3? 0.15. Okay, so that would be on your cheat sheet, so make sure you have that because you're going to need it for a whole question. Okay, the class average was 80, so give me an 80 in the middle. The standard deviation was 4, so give me an 84, 88, 92. And then can you also do the same concept going down from the average? So what if I told you you scored 2 standard deviations higher than the average on your test? Boom. Yeah, I scored 88. Okay. Find the percent between 68 and 80. So what are you doing there? 68 to 80. So anything from here to there, you could add it all up. Well, or I could do this. This was 99.7, right? Do you have those numbers on there as well? This was 99.7. And I could just divide it by 2 because that's exactly that. Or you could add yours all up. So you could have added that, that, and that up, those 3 numbers. If you did, let me know if we match because I did mine a different way.
It's the same if you add it all.
That makes sense. Okay, above 76. Okay, first thing I would do is this section is 34, right? And then what is from the mean on? What's above the mean? How does the mean split this thing up? What's exactly in the middle? If you were in the middle, how much scored above and below you? If you're smack dab in the middle, what's the percent above you and below you? 50-50. So there should be 50% above the mean, and that means 84% scored above me. Okay? If you really wanted to, you could add. You just did it all? Yes, because boom, that should add up to 50, right?
It's gonna be a really long.
It's long.
It's how quick you can do this kind of stuff.
I mean more so like page wise, like.
I think I have like
All of it.
6 pages.
1% above 76.
Okay, below 72.
2.35, 0.15.
So how much is below 72? That's what I want to know. So not much. What'd you get? 2.5%? Okay, between 72 and 88.
Why do you have percentage buttons in there?
Oh, why did I? Oh, because this is.
Oh no, I meant
Oh.
this calculator.
Sorry.
So when it's just roll, so we can just this chunk. So you're at 0.15.
Does anybody remember the big number between the minus 2 and 2? 95. You might have that on yours, like this. Some of you, did you put this at the top? That was 68. And then from the 2 to mark was 95. Did you have that on your cheat sheet? Okay. Well, and then the 3s. From the 3s, it should be 99.7%, right? Okay, we have a 76 and 88. What's the chunk between 76 and 88?
Didn't we just do that?
No, we did 72. What did you get? Yep. And then the last one says between 88 and 92. And that one's just one block, which you should have labeled on your sheet. So your test says on the instructions, use the rules of 68, 95, and 99.7 to answer the following questions. So that's the instructions on your test. When I say use the rules of 68, 95, and 99.7 to answer these questions. Boom, go to that sheet. Okay, determine the Z-score. So you should have a formula. Everybody has that formula on their cheat sheet. So the Z-score, did you write it in words? The Z-score equals your score minus mean over standard. So whatever you need on your cheat sheet, write it out in words. Your score minus mean, divide by standard.
How did you get that?
I did this in brackets before I divided, or pushed entered before I divided. Right? Because Evian, if I push this into my calculator, what would it do badly?
It would just do that all.
It would do this, and then like it would do the wrong order, right? So I need this divided by 5. Does your number make sense? If the average is 85 and you're at 93, would you be at a Z-score of 1.6? Does that make sense? You're above the average, right? Okay, you will have one of those where you get the Z. You will have one of these where I give you the Z. So this time I gave you the Z. You're going to determine your score. So I'm going to put an X for my score minus mean over standard. So you're going to have one version of each. This one, you're going to have to, what's the algebra? Times, and then add 85. Times, and add 85. What? Did you do negative? Did you put a negative symbol on your? Yeah, because if you are below the average, you have to be somewhere below 85%, right? Or whatever. Because you have a negative Z-score, so you're below that average.
I didn't see the negative. This one happens if you don't.
So then you say,
Yes. I didn't see the 1.7 because it's negative.
Okay, number 9. Determine the percent. What do you want to use as a calculator button right now, reading that? Determine the percent. Second vars. Distribution. Which one in the list? Determine the percent. Normal CDF. Normal CDF. All of these questions are normal CDF. So I'm just going to write that for all of them. Okay, let's talk about our brackets on each. Okay, I'm going to use normal CDF. Okay, between this z-score and this z-score. So I'm going to go from negative 1.8, comma 2.1, comma something, comma something. What do you put in there now? The mean and then the standard. What is our mean? What is our standard? These are z-scores. So what z-score is right in the middle? 0. When we do z-scores, we jump by 1. So that's what you're typing. If you struggle with moving decimals, just go times 100 in your calculator so that you can see it. If you struggle to move them, now you are above a z-score of 0.6. So what are you going to do for above? Basically, I'm going to give you a visual here if you want. My z-score is 0.6 and I'm above that. How do I get that? So what's the left to right? 0.6. And then I go right, and then I use a 99999, comma, and then we're using the 0 and 1 again, right? Because it's a z-score. Okay, and then this one, I'll give you a visual here. If I'm at a z-score of 2.5, I'm way over there, and I want to know what's below that. So it's going to be quite a bit. So I'm going to go from negative 9999s up to 2.5. Right? Does that make sense? As a domain. And then 0 and 1 again. I told you it was going to be quite a bit because look at all my drawing there. Most of your data is below you because you're really high up there, right? Okay, do you have on your cheat sheet? Do you have something with this? When you talk about z-scores, mean 0, standard 1. Do you have that written down for yourself somewhere? When you're describing z-scores, you're using a mean of 0 and a standard of 1. Okay, number 10. Given a mean and a standard, what percent of the data? So now what? I want to know the percent, so I'm using normal CDF again. Okay, but this time I'm not using z-scores. That's the difference. The first question I use z-scores here. So, number 1 says above 30. So 30 to 9999s, comma, what's the mean? Now we write 33.7, comma 2.6. Okay, same question. One is in Z-score language and one is in actual score language. That's the difference between what you're doing. Okay, let's see if you can finish these on your own. Okay, look to see if we're all matching. I got on the second one 91.5%, and then I got a 30.1%. Got some matches. So, do you have a big star? To get percent, normal CDF. To get the percent. Okay? Unless I specifically say get the percent using the 68 rules. When I say use the rules, then you got to use that chart. But when I say get the percent, normal CDF. This, you could check it with the calculator. Yours will be a little bit off. So I can try this for you and I'll show you. So normal CDF between 68 and 80, comma, our mean was 80 and our standard was 4. I'm at 49.9%. Look, it's just a little bit off, right?
Will you mark that right?
I will mark this wrong if you're using your calculator.
What if we like added instead?
But you, like you said, you can use it to check, but it will not be the exact same. Okay?
So if it's close, we can just know that it's like probably right.
Yeah, like, okay, I got,
But she'll mark
Not
it
like-
wrong.
but I will mark it wrong, but you should use this and say, oh, well, yeah, look at my answer.
Can we like add points?
Very close. What's that?
Like let's say 68 and 80 and then I just add the percents inside the.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, yeah. Yeah.
Just had, like 68 and 40.
Or yeah, just don't, I don't want you to use normal CDF on this. Okay, if you give me all those numbers, I will mark you wrong. So give, and I want, look at this, I didn't round it, I want exact, because everything's to, okay, given the mean and the standard, 10% of the data is below what? So, what is this one? This time I gave you the percent.
Is that gonna be normal?
Now it's INV. Okay, got it? To get percent normal CDF, when I give you percent inverse norm. 10% of the data is below what? So then I type, I want 10% of the data to be below.
Small group.
Yeah, we're learning Z scores.
Z scores. Oh, statistics.
Yeah.
Wait, or sign, or what did I get?
It's under your distribution, like second bars. Did you see it? And
Yeah,
then,
you get that.
Welcome. Thank you.
you got it? Okay. That's just a Z score though, right? But I want my score. How do I go from a Z score to my score? The formula. Okay. So you already should have your Z score on your calculator, right? So times it by 2.6. Good. Add 33.7.
You always have to round it up.
Usually I've been adding, or at the very end to one decimal place I've been rounding. Yeah.
What if if it's a 3 decimal and you write the whole thing? Is that a
That's
enough?
better. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So continue the same thing. This is almost the same example. So 60% of the data is below. So I'm going to inverse norm 0.6. And what my calculator is telling me is the Z. So that's the Z score. Okay, same thing. Can you convert your Z score to a score? Please be practicing this to see that we're matching. Okay, if you are a person who likes visuals, do you make sense? Well, here's me making sense of it. 60% of the data is below me. So where am I? I'm over here. I'm above the average, right? If 60% of people are below me, I'm above that average. So if my average is 33.7, I'm at 34.4. That totally makes sense to me, right? Okay, the last question says 15% is above you. What's going to go on here? You're typing in 0.85 there. Okay, everybody has that written on their cheat sheet. You always do the below. If you forget, you need to understand to flip the signs. If you forgot and you would have typed 0.15, your Z score would have been negative 1.04. Okay, and then you can flip it. So again, that comes from asking yourself at the end if your number makes sense to you. Okay, last question. Track and field competition, we got discus throwers. So we're going to draw a chart. On your chart, if you do not put 3 titles on there, I'm going to deduct you points. Okay, so we need to make a title for the whole chart. What do you want to do? discus throws. On the bottom, we need a title. We're going to do distance in feet. And up the y-axis, we're going to be doing frequency or number. Okay, so I need 3 labels to get full points on your test, or else I will deduct you.
I mean, number of throws.
Number of throws, that's good.
That's fine.
Yep, frequency, that's the same thing. Okay, let's split up here. Aiden and Caius, give me how many are in the first frequency. Raiko, the second one. Laura and Diane, I need you to do the third one up to 99. Leon, you're going to count from 100 to 109. Evian, you got this one from 110. Count how many are in that one. And Risalika, you have the last one here. 1, 2, 3.
The last one, yeah, I know, this is one.
It's really-
Yeah, I just waiting.
Okay, anybody got their number? Raiko, you look like you have your second interval here.
Yeah, 4.
4 people. Anybody else done theirs?
One.
Leon, what do you get?
7.
You're this one?
Yeah.
You got 1 on the last one? What'd you, how many? 2? In the first one? 5? Evian? 3. Okay. I went through while you were doing that. I counted up all of them. Do we add 22? We do. That's always a good note. Okay, let's put some stuff on here. I'm going to go a little squiggly line, which means I'm not starting at 0. So 70 to 80. So I started 70, 80, 90, 100, all the way to 130. Okay. It doesn't even tell us how to graph this, so you can pick. Do you want to do a line graph or a bar graph? You can pick. Probably most of you will pick bar ones. That's fine. I'm going to do a line one, but it doesn't say, so just graph.
Because I didn't know we did lines.
You could do either one.
Oh, whatever, I already started on bars. It's A. I put gaps between them.
Okay, so I drew a line graph. Some of you would have drawn bars, would look like that. Okay. A, how many throwers were in this? 22. We just added them all up. Does this data represent normal distribution? Give me a yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. Why would we say that?
It's curved, sort
because its general shape is higher in the middle and lower on the outsides. Okay? I have some questions for you on the test about just telling me if it is or isn't. So if I drew something that looked like this would be a no. There's no, it's not normally distributed, right? Distributed normally means most of your data is in the middle and not very much on the outsides. Okay, find the mean, all that stuff. So we're going to go into L1, L2 in our calculator. What kind of number would I put into this L1 spot right here? I'm going to go with a 75. Can you continue that trend? 85. That's your L1, comma L2. All right, so that's what mine looks like. I got my L1 and my L2. Okay, ready? What do we push? Stat. Calculate. One variable statistics. This time I do have to push something. What do I have to push? L1, comma L2. Everyone has that on their cheat sheet? When you do a table, you got to do L1, comma L2.
It's just quick for me.
Go back to your edit and you got to check that over. You might have one that...
I did L5 and L4.
Okay, well that might be why, because you have no data in there. Anybody match my numbers? 98.6. So 98.6 told me on my calculator. I scrolled down, I found the MED, M-E-D, that was 100. I did a max minus a min and I got 50. Uh-oh. Is anybody matching mine? Okay, so you have to go through your stat edit and see what you, maybe if you typed in something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me my mode by looking. What do you look at when you find a mode? You look for, boom, the highest, or chart-wise, the tallest tower, right? So you could answer me,
You're not getting 50.
How 50 is my range, and then that's it. That's the only number I'm getting.
you could tell me the interval that occurred the most, or you could tell me the midpoint that occurred the most. I don't care how you tell me that. You should have like 2, 4, 5, 7.
We're not supposed to like put it in
You
order.
want 2 scores of 75.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to put it in
No,
order.
no,
no.
That's fine. Okay, does that make sense what I did there? I wanted the interval that occurred the most or the midpoint that occurred the most. Whatever works, that's fine. A score of 95 feet corresponds to what Z-score? So I'm going to use the Z formula. 95 feet minus the mean over the, oh, I didn't write this down. Did you guys write yours down? The standard. Did you get 12.98? Okay. What do you want to do there, rounding? Do you want to just leave it? Can we just leave it 12.98? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I hate rounding. Rounding's not good. Oh, what did I say? 9.8. Why did I write down something completely different? 12.98. Are you getting negative 0.28? Zed?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
below the mean? That makes sense.
I
'Cause
don't like learning how to do point agreement.
what percent? What are you going to do? What percent means to type what button? Normal CDF through under 80. So negative 999s to 80, comma 98.6 mean, comma 12.98 standard. I'm going to add a question here because you have a question like this on your test. You ready? I'm going to throw this in here. So what if 90 throwers compete? How many throwers would throw less than 80? What if I put a question like that on your test because it's on there? So now what would you do?
And there's 90 times 0.76.
You would do 90 times point. You would just do that. You just times. Six. 6.8, so I would say 7 throwers. Probably about 7 throwers would be under 80 feet in the competition. Okay. Are you okay if I just, what do you guys want here? Time? Ah, we have time for them all. What percent? So again, we're going to do a normal CDF. 100, 120, 98.6, 12.98. Okay, so this question might throw you off on the test because I say how many throwers, but the wording won't say what percent. You got to know to find the percent and then the number of throwers, okay? The last question, 80% of the throwers threw at least what distance? So where am I? Am I down here or at the top? If 80% of the throwers threw at least, that's what I would be looking at. 80% through at least what? So I'm going to inverse norm what? What'd you say? Point 2. You guys are supposed to have this on your cheat sheet
Under 80.
below.
No, I wrote that also, but it still doesn't make sense to me. I guess I can just guess.
That's always a Z. Get it back to a score though.